what would you say to people who come from a really strong culture, such as, because you mentioned politics, or like the
Yeah,
military or something like that, where
yeah,
it's or even like academia, you know, it's
right.
kind of like steeped in tradition. There's a
Yeah,
certain way that the culture is, that maybe there's a pecking order or there's some kind of
totally.
very rigid
Yeah,
structure or hierarchy. So if you're in that and it seems like there's no ability to change the dynamic,
right.
what would you recommend to people if they're feeling like, oh, everyone I'm dealing with is in one of these quadrants that I don't feel comfortable in. I want to
Right.
try and shift to this other quadrant. How would they go about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and actually there's a lot to unpack there. So the first thing that came to mind, which might not be the answer to your question, but is important. So if I forget the question, definitely remind me. But I've actually coached quite a few leaders in business who are ex-military, who have that military background. And so I wanted to comment on that because I thought you might be interested in this as well, Shane, is a lot of what is taught with leaders in the military is to take emotion out of things. So when people's lives are in danger, you have to quickly make decisions. You can't always stop and think about how it's going to make everybody feel. You have to make decisions quickly. So in the military, there is room for that really strong assertiveness, even aggression sometimes, because people's lives are in danger and you have to make quick decisions. Where I've seen that people struggle is when they make the transition from military to business, or even from military to family, where a lot of people need you to acknowledge them as a person and to acknowledge their thoughts and feelings in order for you to be heard. So there's a different dynamic in the military versus what a lot of business people have. Now, a lot of military leaders become great business people when they figure this out, is that they have to really elevate their self-awareness so that they can rebuild their empathy, because it's a different skill set. So your second question was about, what do you do when you're in an environment where people aren't honoring this? That is a great question. So it's interesting. When I first developed and taught this workshop, um, it was actually a request from a client because they wanted their staff to build more radical candor. And so sometimes, even when the people you are dealing with fall into the other three quadrants, they're ruinously empathetic or they're obnoxiously aggressive. When you start behaving this way, using empathy and kindness and being really clear, people notice and people want more. So a lot of times what happens is that people get into one of the other three quadrants because of their insecurities and because of their habits. But for a leader to step in that place that has radically candid conversation, it's interesting how people become drawn to that and they want more of it. So the first thing I would say is to try practicing it yourself and see how those around you, how those around you do it. The other thing is sometimes it might be that you're in the wrong environment. Sometimes it might be that, you know what, this is the place that I need to get out of. And that's such great self-awareness to realize that you might be in a work environment that's really not healthy and that's not going to get you to where you want to be.